Tonight, we're reporting live from here on Capitol Hill to mark 1 year since the January 6th insurrection, a date that will live on in the history books. President Biden today unleashing blame on former President Trump for, in his words, holding a dagger at the throat of America.
For the first time in our history, the president had not just lost an election, he tried to prevent the peaceful transfer of power.
It was a day of remembrance, but the only Republicans on the House floor, Congresswoman Liz Cheney, and in a surprise, her father, former Vice President Dick Cheney, who said he's disappointed in GOP leadership. Tonight, the congressional probe into who planned the attack and why President Trump didn't try to stop it. And we visit where the Capitol was first breached with CBS's John Dickerson for context and perspective. Could there be another January 6th?
Yes, the forces that led to it are still out there.
The Omicron surge as the first young teens get their booster. Winter storm warnings. 80 million Americans prepare for heavy snow and freezing rain. And remembering the heroes from the January 6th attack, those who stood strong in the face of adversity.
This is the CBS Evening News with Norah O'Donnell, reporting from the nation's capital.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us from here on the east front of the U.S. Capitol, where flags are at half-staff tonight in remembrance in one of America's darkest days. And just behind me was a candlelight prayer vigil. The insurrection was one of the worst days of injuries for law enforcement since the September 11th attacks. But it was more than the Capitol that was attacked. Democracy itself was under assault. But in the end, democracy prevailed. Those rioters that tried to stop the certification of Joe Biden's election, well, they failed. Members of Congress returned to the very House floor that had been overrun to finish counting the votes. Vice President Mike Pence confirmed Joe Biden would be the next president at 3:40 a.m. Well, at this moment today, the Justice Department is pursuing one of the largest FBI investigations in U.S. history. So far, more than 725 defendants have been charged. And tonight, the threat may not be over. We're going to have more on Homeland Security's warning in just a moment. We have a lot of new reporting to get to, and CBS's Nancy Cordes is here with me to start off our coverage. Good evening, Nancy.
Good evening, Nora. And President Biden did not hold back today, accusing former President Trump.
Well, still ahead on tonight's CBS Evening News, a snowstorm that is already causing problems across the South is now headed north. What you need to know. Tonight, millions are in the path of a storm that is dumping snow from Tennessee to Boston. The Nashville and Knoxville areas got 3 to 6 inches of snow. There were numerous accidents, and now the storm is pushing north. CBS's Lonnie Quinn joins us now. So, Lonnie, it's headed here, right?
Yeah, it's going to you again for your second snowstorm there in Washington, D.C. But if you look at where that heavy snow is right now, yes, it pushed through Nashville, put down actually up to 8 inches outside of Nashville, but it's right now into West Virginia with the heaviest snowfall. That storm is going to continue to push to the north and east. So let's get to the computer model, show you how it'll work out. Heavy snowfall for New York City about 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. But by 7 a.m., it's basically finishing up with New York City. It then pushes more to the north and east. It'll finish up in Boston like around 5 p.m. So the question is, how much snow do we pick up? Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, New York City, I'd put you in like a 3 to 6 inch range. Maybe some areas see a little bit more than that. For Boston, I've got to bump it up a little bit more for you. I'd say about a 6 to 9 inch range. So with the exception, Nora, of you folks in Washington, D.C., this is really the first snow event for all the East Coast big cities. But again, you guys are becoming old hat at it in the nation's capital. It's all yours.
Lonnie Quinn, thank you. Also, there's some breaking news tonight about a possible cause of yesterday's deadly fire in Philadelphia. All right, coming up next, remembering the unsung heroes of the January 6th attack.
If you can't watch the CBS Evening News, you can listen. Subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Sponsored by Prudential.
For everything news and everything Boston, join Lisa Hughes, David Wade, Eric Fisher, and Steve Burton. WBZ News, every night at 11.
Well, we wanted to take a moment tonight to look back at the heroes of January 6th, the greatest among us. When an angry mob descended on the Capitol on a day of something so un-American, they are the reminder that helping one another is what this country stands for. We'll be right back.
This portion of the CBS Evening News is sponsored by Pfizer.
On tomorrow's CBS Evening News, as the new year gets off to a hectic start, Steve Hartman takes a look at the acts of kindness that give him hope. That's On the Road. And a reminder, if you can't watch us live, don't forget to set your DVR so you can watch us later. That is tonight's CBS Evening News. I'm Nora O'Donnell on Capitol Hill. We'll see you tomorrow. Good night.